Hey everyone, I'm here with my Disney top 10 ranking, the Disney movies, animated movies at least. And this is a video I've been wanting to do for a long time now. And I finally rewatched several of them that I wasn't as familiar with, and now I'm ready to give my thoughts on something I'm really passionate about, Disney as a whole. Growing up, I've always loved Disney, and yeah, I just wanted to do this for fun, just see how it went. Because I love them all so much, I consider them basically neck and neck, all of them. So the ones that don't make this list, I'm not saying like they're bad or anything, like not at all. I've yet to see really, with Disney and Pixar, a bad movie necessarily. There's some that I at least think they're alright or pretty good. So yeah, these top 10 vary, like, if it was like a 10 out of 10 to on a scale of 10, these would be like, maybe like 7 out of 10, all the way up to 10 out of 10, which is my favorite movie of all time. So yeah, I'm not saying that any of them are bad or anything, not at all. So yeah, I will say there are several that I'm trying to get a hold of that are harder to find, but some of the original Disney classics, I know I've seen them, I think, except for like one or two of them. I know I haven't seen Dumbo, at least to the point where I can remember. I might have seen it way back in my childhood. Dumbo, The Jungle Book. Yeah, so some of the Disney classics I haven't seen, even though I really want to. But I have seen most of the ones that are really notable and you see everywhere for Disney, and obviously the ones from when I was alive, and some of the classics from like the 80s, 90s, which basically everyone sees, like The Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, all of them, and Lion King. You have to see those sometime in your life. So yeah, let's get started on this. I'll try not to be too wordy. Some of these I won't have barely anything to say, and some I'll have a lot to say. And I made a short little outline for bullet points for each one, but some I'm just gonna try to do improv, because there wasn't really a way to really sum up my words typing them. So I was just gonna see how it went while recording. So yeah, enough of me talking. Let's get to the why you were here, if you clicked on it. So I'll start with honorable mentions. These are all the ones I've seen that I recognize right away, that I can instantly tell you what I think of it based on what I remember from it. So honorable mentions, I have 7 of them, and just because they didn't fit in the top 10, or they were really neck and neck, and I just pushed one above the other. I'll start with Tangled. I think it's a good movie, and I enjoy it when I watch it, but it's never really stuck with me like some of the other Disney movies have. Because one of the things, I'll just go ahead and say it, I tend to be drawn to the Disney princess movies. I personally think they have hit their highest points in their movies that are centered around princesses, the considered princess movies. And I typically just think of those when I think of Disney. I won't spoil my list, but most of them are princess movies. That's just what I like. But yeah. And this one and Princess and the Frog, these have never really done it for me. I definitely like Tangled better than Princess and the Frog. Princess and the Frog is probably my least favorite Disney movie I've seen. I just remember I didn't see it. I'm a big fan of animation in general, but specifically 2D animation, how it started and what Walt originally pictured as animation. I don't really like the 3D style stuff. And it was the final one that the Disney studio made, so I respect it on that regard, and the animation did look really good, but the story just didn't do it for me. I didn't find myself interested in it at all. I remember pulling out my phone several times looking at it because I was just watching it on TV, because for some reason, I don't remember why, I just never went to see it in theaters. And yeah, that's never happened to me with the Disney movie, so I think that says a lot, in my opinion, for me. Um, so yeah, Princess and the Frog, probably my least favorite Disney movie that I've seen. Tangled is kind of far down too. It's just never. I do love the song toward the end when they're in the lanterns. I can't remember the title of it, but yeah, Tangled. There's always that argument: Tangled or Frozen, which is better. Frozen, in my opinion, as you'll see in my list. It is in my list. So yeah. Let's see. Okay, sorry. Cinderella, the original classic from the 50s. I love this movie as one of the original Disney princess movies. I think it was the second, because I think the order was Snow White, Cinderella, and then Aurora or Sleeping Beauty, which those are the three classic princesses. And Cinderella, they're really hard to rank because back then animation was like so groundbreaking, and that's when I want to go into animation, so I really respect it, all those movies for that. And whenever I watch it, that I kind of had that in the back of my mind, where I'm just going to enjoy it no matter what, and I did. I think it's an incredible movie, and obviously you all know the story. It's been adapted time and time again, and Disney adapted it for the classic animated movie. So yeah, I just think it's a really strong movie. It has great songs, great animation for the time, and yeah. Same with Snow White. Kind of like I said, it's the first animated movie ever, and as an animation fan, you have to respect it for that. You have to love it for that, in my opinion. And I just always hold it high because of that, and I still just think it's a great movie. Sometimes, at some points, I think it drags a little. That's why it's not in my top 10 necessarily, but like I said, the top 10 for me are very close, and I'm not saying it's bad at all. I still think it's an incredible movie. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. Next is 101 Dalmatians. I did not remember this movie at all because I just remembered in my childhood being terrified of Cruella. I didn't want to watch it because she just scared me. And I finally got it for my birthday this past year, and I rewatched it, and it's an incredibly notable and strong movie for me. I think it came out in the 60s. It's really, really good. I love the song Cruella de Vil. It's so eerie and awesome. And Cruella is just a great villain. She's so creepy. Like, some of those things that they have in all the Disney movies, like I'll say sometimes, they're really dark. And obviously back then it was a lot different. They could fit a lot more in than they could now. But yeah, how they were treating those puppies, and they were like, whack them in the head, knock them out, kill them. I was just like, wow. But yeah, Cruella's creepy. It's a good movie because of that. Tarzan, once again, is kind of the same situation with Tarzan. I watched it recently on Netflix because I couldn't remember it at all. I know I'd seen it. Once again, a dark element where Clayton basically, he hangs himself accidentally, but still you see his body, the shadow of his body hanging. That's just so dark how it happens. I was like, wow. But great music, great animation. I think that came out in 1999. It was really strong. I really enjoyed it more than I originally thought I would. I knew I'd like it because it's just Disney. That's just typically how I think of it. But some just stick with me more than others. And Tarzan did more than I thought, because the plot itself didn't really interest me. I just knew I was going to make this list. I was like, oh, let's just watch it. I'm kind of bored right now, so let's just watch it. It's Disney, so I know it's good. And yeah, I found myself really enjoying the plot because I didn't remember any of the real plot or story from it. Jane, I think, is an incredible character, and her growth and arc and her and Tarzan's interaction is really different. And yeah, just the animal characters, all of it. It's really interesting. It's a cool movie. Wreck-It Ralph. Wreck-It Ralph, I think, is really notable for what it achieves, I guess you could say. It's like so. This, apart from Zootopia, it's like kind of a weird it's a really neat and unique idea, but it's kind of weird just because Disney hasn't done anything like those things. I mean, they've had talking animals, for example, with Zootopia, or I don't remember them ever doing anything with video games, but it's just so random, and it's in the middle of like princess movies and stuff, and it's just, yeah, I think it's a great movie, and it really has a sad ending. Well, kind of. Obviously, no one dies or anything. Like from some Disney movies, it's not really sad in that way. But just Ralph as a character and like accepting that just because he's a villain, he doesn't have to be bad and all that stuff. It really gets to you. And the characters, the environments, the animation's really gorgeous. And the video game idea is just so unique and different. Like I said, it's just notable for that. Okay, now I'm going to start with my number 10 and work my way down. My number 10 came out in 2014, I think. Big Hero 6. I saw this in theaters like a few weeks after, I think a few weeks after it was released, or the week after it was released. I tried to go see these movies right away, but this time I couldn't for some reason. I think I was still in school and it just didn't work out. Yeah, I thought it was unique as a superhero movie, since beside The Incredibles, they haven't done that, and I like the idea of it, because how I see superhero movies, you can really make a lot of things with superheroes. Obviously, just give them a villain and there you have a movie. You don't really need an idea for a sequel, really. It helps to have character development stuff and continuing story, make it higher quality, but technically, to make it, say you want to make a superhero movie, just give them a villain, and they could easily do that, and I hope they do it with Big Hero 6, because I'd love to see the characters again. I'd love to see them actually interact as a group, since they didn't really form as the superhero team, really, until towards the end of the movie. This was kind of just, obviously, their origin, and seeing Tadashi die, giving that backstory to him, and what the whole idea behind Baymax was, and I'll just say it now, Baymax is great. He's the best thing ever. I met him at Disney World, and it was just great. The negative points, I did find myself really thinking it was predictable. Like, even in the movie, I was like, okay, I know it's that professor guy that's in the mask. I kind of had a thought in the back of my mind that it'd be like, okay, that'd be really awesome if that turned out to be his brother for some twisted reason. That would be insane. But it didn't happen. It was just the professor. Like, I kind of didn't hope, because I wanted to be surprised, and I just wasn't. It was really predictable, but I think it's good. Not as strong as a lot of the other Disney movies, but how it resonates and sticks in my mind, put it on this list, even though I like some of the others better. It's kind of weird. This one just, it stuck with me. I really enjoyed it. The humor was on point, and yeah, Baymax is just great, so that put it on the list. Next is Mulan, 1998. One of my favorite Disney princesses. I met her for the first time last time in Disney World, and it was great. The idea of Mulan is obviously completely different of a Disney princess. She's really feminist and a revolutionary idea. Obviously, she disguises herself as a man and fights in the war so that her father doesn't have to, who's already crippled, and she knows basically he wouldn't make it. And the song Reflection is just really powerful, and the delivery, all the voice acting and everything, and the animation and design in it is awesome. Like the Asian architecture and style, it's just great. It's so dark. It bothers me whenever I watch a Disney movie now, because now basically no movie is rated G. Every single Disney movie that is released is, in contrary to how it used to be, PG, because there's always something that they find in there to give it that rating. But Mulan is rated G, and you see a field of dead bodies, and they talk about war, and then it's one of the few Disney movies where they actually show some shots of blood. Obviously, it's not gory or anything, but still, that's pretty dark, especially the turning around when they're singing, and then they just see the village burning, and the little girl's doll. Basically, you know what that implies, like they killed all the people there, including some children. And the line, it always sticks with me whenever I watch it. I'm just like, ooh, how they say they uh, score it and everything. Sean Yu, who's a terrifying villain, by the way, he is one of his two of the captives that they have go to send a message to the emperor that they're coming for them or something like that, and he looks over to his archer and says, how many men does it take to deliver a message? He says one, and then obviously, you know, they killed the other guy, and that's just really dark how they say that. I was like, whoa, Disney, wow. But yeah, I think you don't see Mulan a lot of places. She doesn't have great representation in the market. I think it's incredibly underrated. I think it's a great movie, a really solid movie. Everything from animation, humor, because Mushu, Eddie Murphy, is great. And Mulan, the idea of her is so revolutionary. I'm really surprised that they didn't market it more, and she really doesn't have that much of a representation in the Disney Princess franchise, but I think she should. Next is Hercules, which, once again, I think it's underrated because you really don't hear about it that much. It's really, really great. I can't remember what year it came out. The idea of the Greek mythology, the twist that they have with the animation to make it fit that art style was just really neat. The ladies dancing on the pottery, those like scenes make the movie for me. I love the music in this. The music is kind of like a gospel sound. It's something totally different than everything that Disney's done, and the idea that they have of it with this mythology and characters is really rich and deep, and I find myself really enjoying it every single time, even though a lot of people just forget about it for some reason, it seems. The character Meg specifically is incredible. Like, her arc is insane. Obviously, you're kind of meant not to like her toward the beginning. She's really kind of a brat, and you know, she's like, can you die or something? But then when she does, you see her throughout the movie. And then it turns out she's working with with Hades, and you're like, oh, of course. And then, but obviously you don't care because you really aren't attached to it at that point. But then when you hear a backstory and how she like gave her soul to him to use as a servant, is really something totally. I've never like changed my opinion on a character that much, and it was really really deep there. But yeah, Meg has a great arc, and then she ends up dying, but Hercules obviously saves her soul, and then they end up together. Which, by the way, I wish Meg was a Disney princess because that'd be awesome. But she's technically not. But yeah, like I said, some amazing songs with the sung by the ladies. They narrate the story sometimes. It's just great. They cut those scenes and it's the Grecian style, and it just looks awesome. And they're so funny. Oh my gosh. But yeah. So yeah, I think it's underrated, and I think it deserves more than it gets. Next is The Lion King, which I know a lot of people, I've seen so many lists in preparation for this video. They always put The Lion King top 3, and like I said, Disney movies mostly for me. I've always, the Disney princess movies have always resonated with me more. I've always been drawn to them. The Lion King, obviously, it's an incredible film, one of the best films I've ever seen. The animation is stunning, especially the first act, I guess you could say, when the intro of obviously the song that everyone knows, Circle of Life, the whole scene, and then it ends with Rafiki holding up Simba, and then it shows the Lion King. That first act is probably the best first act of anything I've ever seen anywhere. But because I mean, it's incredible, the animation and everything. But the rest of the movie, I honestly I don't find it boring, but I just don't find it as interesting as I do with other movies where I'm fully interested, like other Disney movies. Like, once it gets to Timon and Pumbaa, or actually a little bit toward the beginning, after you have the incredible opening, then it lags a little bit, then it gets really intense with Mufasa's death, and then it kind of drags again, and then it gets up to a high note again. So yeah, there were just more negatives in my opinion. Lion King, like I said, incredible. I'm not hating on it. I'm just saying, in terms of my favorite, I just never have seen why so many people rank it as high as they do. I would never consider this in my top 3, in contrary to many people's opinions. But yeah, they had incredible music. Circle of Life is yeah, I have no words to describe how much that scene and how the music works with it, how great it is. A strong story, strong characters. Scar is a great villain. He's really creepy. And Mufasa's death, ooh, that's rough. But yeah, so basically Lion King, incredible movie, but I'm not as crazy about it as a lot of people are. Okay, next is the number 6, Aladdin. And this was one of the movies that I had remembered watching as a child, and it never stuck with me. But then I watched it on Disney Channel just because it was on, and I've been wanting to make this list, and I have to watch Aladdin, and I found myself really surprised. Like, I had a complete shift. I never would have thought that I would have liked it as much as I did. And I instantly got online and ordered the Blu-ray right after I saw it that night, and I watched it again, and I watched it again. That week I probably saw it like 4 times. It was just so good, and I did not remember it being that good at all. I was really surprised. So it's a recent addition to this list, in my opinion. I mean, in my mind that I've been compiling. It has a really strong story. I love Jasmine as a character that is kind of twisted, and it's not really about the princess, even though she's technically the princess, so I guess you could even classify it as a princess movie, even though it's not as heavily involved with that franchise as some of the other ones are. Because the movie's called Aladdin. It's about the prince, and well, he's technically not a prince, but he becomes a Disney prince. It's about him instead of her, and it's kind of the twist. She's already royalty, and he's living on the streets. And a lot of times it's like the girl marries. Normally, a lot of times, like Cinderella's an exception, but a lot of times the princesses are already royalty, but they marry a guy that's already a prince. But this one's a twist. The princess is royalty, and he's not at all. So that was interesting. A great villain in Jafar. He was really threatening. He was awesome. I love his character design. Love the art. Love the music. The twist. And obviously everyone loves Genie. He's great. Robin Williams, stellar voice acting and everything. And he adds all the humor, and it's just great. Yeah, Jafar was just so intimidating. How he turned into a snake. He in just like the last half of the movie. Well, technically the last third or so, when the whole fight takes place, basically Jafar trying to take over, and he ends up getting a hold of Genie, and he has to serve him instead of Aladdin since he took the lamp, and he basically wishes to become like an all-powerful sorcerer than an all-powerful genie, and so it keeps on escalating because it keeps on getting more and more powerful right when you think they're gonna defeat him. So yeah, it's just really cool. Next is Disney's latest movie, Zootopia. I saw this movie. It was the day before my birthday, and I love Disney so much. I went on opening day, like the first showing, just because, like early that morning, or one of the few first openings. And I was really surprised by how much I loved this movie, because I knew I was going to enjoy it just because it's Disney, but I definitely didn't expect it to end up being what it was. I didn't see the idea of a cop mystery movie at all in it, because I didn't really watch many of the trailers. I wasn't really involved with it, like the plot or anything. I really wasn't hyped about it. I was just like, okay, it's Disney, so I'm going to go see it. But I found myself really surprised. It's completely original. They've done Talking Animals before, obviously, but this was a completely different twist on it. Like I said, it's a cop mystery movie, and you never really would have expected that. It was great twists, great mystery. I honestly didn't see the betrayal of, I can't remember, Assistant Mayor Bellwether, I think. Her end up being the villain. I was actually surprised about that, and how they used the blueberry instead of the shooting Nick instead of the the night howler thing that makes them go savage. I honestly didn't see that coming. I was like, that's pretty obvious. Why didn't I see that? But anyway, I was really surprised, so that made it even better for me. I was like, wow. And good humor. Nick is a great character. I really like all the characters are great. It's just really awesome. And the animation is really beautiful too. Okay, next is Frozen. And Frozen, if you would have, okay, I saw it a few weeks after it opened. My brother said how incredible it was. Everyone was saying how incredible it was. How it was the best Disney movie since Lion King. Remember, you saw that on all the trailers and promos on TV and stuff. And I went into it. I knew it was a Disney princess movie, so I knew most likely it would end up being one of my favorite movies of all time, just because that's how it works. And it did. And I remember just being in awe. The animation's stunning. Elsa's, if you count her, my favorite princess. And yeah, I saw it 3 times in theaters, and that was the only time I'd ever seen a movie in theaters. I saw Big Hero 6 twice. That's true. But then this was before Big Hero 6. So that at that time, that was the first time I'd seen a movie in the theaters that much. Each time with different people, seeing how they reacted to it. And yeah, it was stunning. Like, Let It Go, my favorite princess song. It still is, but even back then, I loved it even more after. But eventually, I kind of got tired of it, as I'll explain in a little bit. Olaf is my favorite Disney character. His humor and Josh Gad's voice acting really helps. Like the line, just randomly, I don't have a skull or bones, or like, or just walking and like looking, I was like, oh, look at that, I've been impaled. You just don't expect a thing to say that, and he does, and it's great. I remember the first time I was like on the floor dying, but anyways, I think it has a strong story. It obviously has the big twist that kind of ignited everyone, like, wow, this is like kind of revolutionary, I guess you would say, of true love not being the guy, even though the prince is like Kristoff, obviously, and they do end up together in Kristoff. Elsa is a twist on that because she doesn't end up with anyone, and on top of that, Anna saves her sister instead of a guy through true love. So obviously that's a twist, and that was really well done, because obviously I never even thought of that in the movie. I was like, obviously I knew Anna didn't die, but I was just like, what are they gonna do? Then when that happens, like, oh, that was really kind of clever. I liked how they did that. And yeah, so seeing that significant may really boosted it for me. So yeah, but then I think once it started getting, it seemed like the first few months, it was just the average hype of a Disney movie, and then obviously it didn't slow down. Like, it got back up to #1 at the box office, and Let It Go was played literally everywhere, and it won the Oscar. And you literally saw Frozen everywhere, and it was taking over everything. You heard Let It Go every single day almost, and people were just getting tired of it. And it ended up being the highest grossing animated movie of all time, and is like the 8th highest grossing movie of all time. And Disney definitely didn't expect that, I remember they said. And yeah, it just kind of ignited halfway through its run. And it was after that, before that, I would probably say it was my favorite Disney movie. Probably my favorite movie overall. Because another Disney movie is my favorite movie still. And it took that place. But yeah, when it started doing that, as great as a movie as it was, and it still is, the fact that it ignited like that around the whole world, it became really overrated and overused. No matter how great it is, it didn't deserve that, I don't think, because everyone just kind of got tired of it, which kind of bothered me, because looking back on it now, it really is a strong, great movie, but the idea that it just ignited like that, everyone got tired of it, is really a shame, because they're just treating it like Frozen. Ugh, I remember that, I'm tired of it, instead of just saying, oh, that's a good Disney movie. But yeah, I think even though that really dropped it down for me, I still think it's a solid movie. Obviously, it's #4, and it's still one of my favorite movies of all time. I think it's great, and Let It Go is still my favorite princess song, and I think it's great. So yeah, Frozen. Yeah, there we go. Number three, this movie really shifted positions a lot on my list because I rewatched it just like a week ago, and I couldn't remember it really. I knew the story overall, but I wanted to rewatch ones I couldn't just talk about for this reason. Um, so I rewatched it, and I ended up loving it so much, and it ended up. I was honestly gonna put it like 9 or 10 because out of the classic Disney princess movies, Sleeping Beauty, which is what I'm talking about now, it's sorry, I forgot to say it. It really, I don't know if it was held that position. I think I like Snow White better than it prior to my rewatch, but after rewatch, I was like, this is definitely my favorite of the three Disney original princess movies: Snow White, Cinderella, and Sleeping Beauty. And yeah, it just went up from like 9 to 10 and to number 3 on my list, which is really insane. I think because the whole for some reason, looking back on it, I thought the middle was boring, and the first act or the first third and the last third was really really good, and the middle was kind of dragged. It was okay. But this time I didn't find myself bored at all. It was really weird. It was a complete shift. And Maleficent, obviously, her name, if you don't know, means evil, which I learned from seeing different forums and stuff for Disney. But anyways, she's a great villain, obviously. She's the big kind of marketing, it seems, for villains. You see her a lot of places. She has a big presence, either in her dragon state or just her regular state. I even have her Funko Pop. So, yeah. So the last third of the movie is stellar, I think. One of the best scenes in the whole movie. I mean, in every movie I've ever seen. The whole confrontation between Prince Philip and Maleficent the whole time after Aurora pricks her finger and falls asleep. I think the rest of that movie is perfect, basically. The act where Philip was fighting Maleficent is stunning. The animation, the fire, how they incorporated all of that, giving Maleficent an evil, like, kind of like game-changing moment where she became the dragon. And another Disney movie which would have been different if it was released today. They would not have said Maleficent. The line is, "Now you'll face me and all the powers of hell." They wouldn't say that now. they would say something, I don't know, all the powers of my magic or something. But yeah, that just makes it even more epic, and like the fact that he's like hanging over a cliff and she's shooting green fire, it just looks stunning. Not only artistically, the animation and the detail brought into it is insane. I mean, that came out in the 1950s, still 1959. That's insane. Even just comparing Cinderella, the backgrounds look so much more detailed, and it's insane. And Prince Philip is my favorite. Well, it's a tie. It's hard to explain. My favorite Disney princes are the Beast or Prince Philip. And Prince Philip, what makes him, after my rewatch, stand out is that not only his outfit's cool, he gets a cool moment fighting the dragon, he gets an awesome sword and shield. He did more than, at that time, he was the first prince to actually have a personality, really, and be a likable character, a rounded character, not just a flat character. Because the other princes, Snow White, he just kind of was, he had cameos, he sang to her, then he just showed up at the end of the movie when she needed to be kissed and woken up. And then Cinderella, he was just the guy looking for a girl, so he held a ball. Or his dad wanted him to find a girl. That's basically all he got. And they fall in love. But Philip, he's there constantly throughout the movie, and it turns out she was like betrothed to him anyway. But she didn't know that, obviously, and he didn't know that it was her when they were singing and having their moment in the forest. So, and then when he like ends up becoming character, Maleficent captures him. You see him a lot more than any other prince, and he fights for her and everything. He's just the coolest prince. The fairies add humor. All of them, Flora, Fauna, and Merryweather. it's great. Great song with Once Upon a Dream. It's really good. So yes, Sleeping Beauty, big change of opinion in that. Okay, second is The Little Mermaid, and this has always been on my list. I think it's just really such a good movie, and my favorite villain is Ursula, and I just love Ursula. I think she's so intimidating and creepy, how she keeps the souls of her victims and like turns them into this wormy thing and puts them in their cave, and how she steals her voice. I always just thought she was so creepy and intimidating. It was awesome, and a very strong soundtrack. There's only 2 movies, one I'm about to bring up, and this one, where I literally, every single Disney movie, they always have like 1 or 2 standout songs that I love, absolutely. But these, I like the whole soundtrack. And my only complaint, which didn't make it number 1, well, number 1 is just kind of a favorite for me, which for reasons I'll explain. Sometimes I find the first third of the movie, not up to until she gives her voice, not really boring, but some of it I kind of wish they would have not have taken. It's really not that long. It's like 30 minutes. You need that setup. It's necessary, and I think it's good. But in contrast to the rest of the movie, going up and meeting Prince Eric and all that is far less interesting. Seeing her fascination with the human world and all that. But once again, you need that setup. That's just me. I find it kind of slow sometimes. But yeah, the Ursula, just Ursula as a villain, and the fact that this is a strong soundtrack, and the last 2/3 of the movie is stellar, I think, puts it on number 2. And now my favorite Disney movie, my favorite movie of all time, is Beauty and the Beast. And I do know a lot of people hold this really high. It has a really high representation. Unlike Disney World and marketing, Belle and the Beast, it's really common. This is my childhood movie. I grew up watching this with my mom like at least every week. I think we watched it like at least like twice every week, once or twice. And we had it on VHS, and it was basically on repeat. So I think that kind of, looking back on it now, and even still now, that's still ingrained in my mind, and I specifically watching it, enjoying it that much. I even went one Halloween, we were at Disney World, and I dressed up as the Beast. So yeah. I think that's why it's so important to me, and why it automatically, if at least a Disney movie, favorite movie, it took some debating, but it turns out it is my favorite movie of all time. But just favorite Disney movie, it instantly just comes to mind, Beauty and the Beast, no competition. I doubt anything will ever beat it for that reason. I think the fact it was my childhood movie really resonates and sticks with me for that reason. My favorite Disney song of all time, even though it's really tough, Be Our Guest. I think the animation is stunning. The design is stunning. The score, the music, all of that is stellar. But yeah, Be Our Guest. The whole sequence of that is my favorite scene in movie history. Just the animation, the fact that the utensils and everything is dancing. It's just great and whimsical and magical. Everything Disney is just something you wouldn't see every day. Obviously, plates and a candle singing and having a hat and like bottles of wine bursting. It's just so stellar and grand, and you just always feel welcome. And I don't know, whenever I watch that movie, I just can't help but smile and like think about it. Sometimes when I'm just watching it by myself, I rewind it and watch that scene over and over and over again in the middle of the movie, and then I'm like, okay, let's continue this movie. But yeah, that's my favorite Disney song. Bella's my favorite princess. Excluding Elsa, if you exclude Elsa, it's kind of confusing. The Disney franchise considers Anna and Elsa as a separate Frozen marketing thing. They're not technically princesses. They haven't actually been inducted. Because, believe it or not, they actually have an induction ceremony, and they actually haven't. They're their own brand, but they're considered princesses, even though technically, being Frozen obsessed and Elsa obsessed I am, technically she's not a princess, she's a queen. So it just wouldn't work. But yeah, if you exclude Elsa, then Belle's my favorite princess, if not Elsa. But anyway, back to Beauty and the Beast. I just love her character, how she's they play on a really important message, and obviously the message of the movie, which is like they even say in the intro, the beauty is found within. And Belle's kind of, the whole town thinks she's weird and strange, and but she's so beautiful on the outside, but she doesn't seem to care about that. She just reads books and she studies. She's really smart. She lives with her dad. She defends her dad. She's a great person. So she's basically beautiful inside and out, even though they don't see that. And yeah, she's just so likable and such a great character. And the Beast has an insane arc. It's kind of tough because the Beast is, like I said, the Beast or Prince Philip is my favorite prince, but the Prince Adam, I think his real name is still a controversy about that. I'll just call him Beast. Beast as a human, how he turns into a human is the prince technically, but the Beast is the form of the prince, the cursed form of the prince. So he's technically still a prince, but the Beast is him as the Beast. Obviously, he's like that until the last scene of the movie. You grow to love him as the Beast, and he has the insane character arc. You really feel for him as the Beast, but when he turns human, you're just kind of like, okay, you know. So as the Beast, he's my favorite prince. But if that doesn't count, then okay, yeah, that didn't really make sense. I thought I made a good point, but anyways, scratch that. What I was saying was the Beast, when he's in his Beast form for the whole movie, basically, his in character arc is awesome, and you grow to really love him. I don't know how you could dislike the Beast. Obviously, he's kind of a jerk later on because he's basically cursed, and he's running out of time, and odds are he won't find a true love, and he and the people he cares about, his servants and everything, the people that he lives with, are going to be cursed for all time. So, you know, you can kind of understand why he was uptight and mean in the beginning. But then he grows to love Belle, and then does their love story, and then she finds love within him, even though he's hideous on the outside as a beast, which is the whole idea of the movie. It's just stellar. And obviously, once again, as all the fairy tales, this has been adapted time and time again, and it still is. And they're making the live-action movie. I'm going to be there opening night, midnight. I've already decided next month, starring Emma Watson. I freaked out during the teaser trailer, and I'm just so excited. I really hope they don't mess it up, because I'm just looking forward to this. Please don't mess with anything. Just make it a live-action version of the same movie. Don't mess with anything. No. But anyways, yeah, I think I hit all my high points. Yeah, the idea of Gaston. He's a good character, but in terms of Disney villain, I don't like him. That's really my only negative about the movie. I find myself really intrigued by the whole movie. I don't find any part really slow or boring. But Gaston, he just doesn't really interest me as a Disney villain. He's a good character, and it makes sense what he's doing. But yeah, in terms of a Disney villain, he wouldn't be in my top 5, maybe even top 10. So yeah, or maybe in my top 10, not my top 5. So yeah, and also the intro, that you all know, the stained glass telling the narrative, telling the backstory of the Beast. That whole scene in the music is stellar. So it's awesome. So yeah, I'm sorry if I rambled. Sometimes I get lost talking about it. I'm just like, oh, I have this and this. I have so many things to say. I'm just kind of trying to compile everything. So yeah, I hope to, as you can see, none of these were Pixar because I didn't consider Pixar. Because I think that could be a whole nother video. Even though these are the ones I'm really enthralled by. These are the ones that I'm really passionate about, even though I love those movies. Like Toy Story is still one of my favorite movies of all time. So is Nemo. And so is Finding Dory, which I may review later, because I also thought that was great. Pixar is a different company, so I consider these were all produced by the Walt Disney Animation Studios, so I consider these and Pixar completely different. Even though Disney movies, sometimes, if you ask some people, they consider both, and that's fine. But for this movie, I just didn't consider Pixar. So yeah, there's my list. Feel free to comment. I'm sorry if I went on and on. I tried to be as thorough but at the same time giving my thoughts, since I'm really excited to do this, and I spent so much time gathering my thoughts, and it's a lot to say, but yeah, I love Disney and I was passionate about it, so I did it. So yeah, what's your favorite Disney movie? Do you agree with Beauty and the Beast or not? Yeah, thanks for watching.